Let's jump right into this explainer. We're constantly bombarded with stories of founders raising millions for the flashiest new AI startup, right? But the reality is, a lot of those burn through cash and vanish in 6 months. So, what if the ultimate startup strategy isn't about being cutting edge, but just being incredibly useful? Today, we're diving into the playbook of a founder named Rashid. He took a totally different entrepreneur perspective and quietly built a portfolio of highly resilient, boring database websites. And guess what? They generate massive monthly revenue with seriously high profit margins.
It's a fascinating paradigm shift. You literally don't need a complex, futuristic app to drive massive business growth. Trendy startups? Yeah, they're exciting, but they come with a high failure rate and this constant looming risk of going to zero. Boring databases, on the other hand, don't rely on hype or revolutionary algorithms. They offer stability. They solve tedious, everyday manual tasks for people, and in return, they generate predictable, recurring revenue for years. It's an entire strategy built on solid cash flow rather than chasing fads. So here is the exact agenda for today's playbook. We'll start with the power of boring businesses, then talk about finding a truly painful problem. After that, we'll look inside that $32,000 portfolio, break down scaling with programmatic SEO, review the modern tech stack, and wrap up with finding your next startup idea. Let's get into it. Part 1. The power of boring businesses and why simple data curation wins. The secret sauce here is that businesses, unlike everyday consumers, are actually willing to pay subscriptions to save time on tedious tasks. Think about it. If you build a directory for, say, local dog trainers, getting the average person to pay a monthly fee is going to be an uphill battle. But if you solve a painful problem for a company, like helping them find investors to make payroll or tracking down journalists for PR, you're a lifesaver. B2B audiences already have budgets set aside for tools that kill friction. Moving on to part 2. Finding a painful problem. The origin of this 32K portfolio. Rashid's story is the perfect example of how the best business growth often comes from hitting a wall in your own workflow. He was actually a finance student, not a coder. He and a friend were building a fintech app and managed to scrape together $100,000 from friends and family. But that ran out. They desperately needed real venture capital to survive. So they spent hours upon agonizing hours manually scouring the web, building their own list of 40,000 investors just to get some meetings on the calendar. That process was so painful, they eventually just packaged the list and put it on Product Hunt, and without even intending to launch a new company, they made $4,000 in their first month. As Rashid puts it, this idea basically happened accidentally, like trying to solve our own problem. He didn't wake up wanting to be a database mogul. He just wanted to save his original startup. But the internal tool he built ended up being a far better business model. By fixing his own headache, he accidentally tapped into a massive market need for other founders. It's classic startup strategy, scratching your own itch. When you are the target user, you instantly know the pain points, what features matter, and exactly how to pitch it. No outside marketing agency can replicate that kind of authentic insight. Part 3. Inside the 32K portfolio. Breaking down those revenue streams. The real genius of Rashid's strategy is how he took one working model and just cloned it across different B2B niches. First is Angel Match, a massive database of 125,000 VCs and angels starting at $59 a month. Then Investor Hunt, which runs purely on SEO with zero active marketing, scaling up to $297 a month. And finally, Journalist Hunt, which connects small businesses with 200,000 media contacts. It's literally the exact same underlying architecture, just serving up different, highly valuable data. Combine those 3 platforms, and you get over $32,000 in monthly recurring revenue today. And remember, that's not one-off sales. That is subscription money hitting the bank account every single month like clockwork. But look at how that revenue breaks down. Angel Match is the undeniable heavyweight here, bringing in $29,000 of that total with a wild 33% trial conversion rate. Investor Hunt pulls in about $2,800 completely on autopilot, and Journalist Hunt adds another $260. It highlights a really smart entrepreneur perspective. Not every single bet is going to be a massive home run, but once you have a strong primary driver, it gives you the absolute freedom to test new waters. Let's move to part 4, scaling with programmatic SEO, the $20,000 growth lever. So how did he scale this? Well, Rashid noticed he was getting maybe 60 organic clicks a day and asked himself, what happens if I 10x that? That question led him straight to search engine optimization. He started around 3,000 MRR, but by going all in on SEO, he pushed that to a 20 grand. Later, by sprinkling in some meta ads, he hit a peak of 43,000 a month. But that massive core growth phase, that was entirely driven by organic search. His execution here is practically a masterclass in business growth. Step 1, he brought on 6 content writers. Step 2, they just published consistently. Step 3, he worked with his devs to launch free, helpful tools to naturally draw people in. And step 4, the big one, he leveraged programmatic SEO. Basically, he structured his data so that thousands of super specific Google searches automatically land on optimized pages of his site. Programmatic SEO alone now accounts for half of his total revenue. Part 5. The modern tech stack. The tools you need to build a database SaaS right now. The takeaway here is that you can run this entire operation on a lean, ultra-efficient tech stack. Even as a non-technical founder, Rashid uses rock-solid frameworks. They use Next.js on the front end, Nest.js on the back end, and PostgreSQL for the database. Hosting is on DigitalOcean, SEO is tracked with Ahrefs, they handle outreach via Nihilus, and marketing through Klaviyo. He even mentioned his G Suite bill is just $62 a month. The overhead here is practically a rounding error compared to the cash coming in. Finally, part 6, your next startup idea and how you can replicate this database model today. Rashid shared 2 ideas that target B2B audiences currently wasting hours on manual research. First, an influencer database. Brands are desperate to find creators, so a platform categorized by location, audience size, and niche, that's a goldmine. Second, a newsletter database. Companies want to buy sponsorships, but hunting down active newsletters with the exact right demographics is exhausting. Curating those opportunities solves a huge, expensive headache for brands. Both are wide open opportunities. But remember, you absolutely must focus on the B2B space. A business won't even blink at $97 a month if it saves them 20 hours of intern labor or lands them a $50,000 client. Everyday consumers, though, they'll agonize over a $5 monthly charge for weeks. B2B is where you want to be. So here is your action plan. Step 1, identify a highly specific, painful B2B problem. Step 2, collect the data. And look, you can do this completely manually at first, just like Rashid did, and automate later. Step 3, get eyeballs on it. Launch the product, listen to the market, and then go all in on strategies like programmatic SEO to scale your traffic. This quote really captures the ultimate competitive advantage, just outlasting the people chasing fast money. Rashid said, "You should be patient, put in the work, and never give up. Founders starting with me were making more, but they gave up." He watched trendy startups rocket past him at the start, but because his boring business was sustainable and he just kept grinding on SEO, he's thriving today while most of those flashy competitors are totally gone. So what painful problem will you solve? Take a hard look at your own daily workflows. Find the friction and start building your boring, highly profitable business today. Stop looking for the billion-dollar AI concept and start looking for the tedious spreadsheet everyone hates updating. Because right there, in the absolute boredom, is where the real cash flow lives. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Now get out there and find your problem to solve.